The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015 to end poverty, reduce inequality, and build more peaceful, prosperous societies by 2030. Many of the global challenges to development are especially salient for the children and youth. It is their future that depends on how well these SDGs are adopted. Where do our children or the youth stand today?
There are still a lot of kids
that can't go to school
because their families
can't afford their education.
Other kids have to walk a long distance
and even cross rivers and climb mountains just to go to school.
A lot of kids cannot go to school because the parents don't have money.
People are using up the world's resources
without thinking of the consequences,
like global warming. We have a lot of natural disasters
like super typhoons and forest fires
that destroy the livelihood and homes of many people.
People's rays are reaching the oceans,
killing turtles, fishes, and other marine life.
The number of animals are getting smaller and the food supply is getting smaller.
Why do you think their numbers are getting smaller?
Because they're getting endangered. The people have been cutting the trees in their habitat.
A lot of people are getting sick,
especially because of COVID-19. Everyone is affected.
Yung ibang people hindi makapunta sa hospital pag sick sila.
What is the ideal future for our children?
Sana lahat ng bata ay mabigyan ng pagkakataong makapag-aral.
I dream of a future where no kid gets left behind.
I hope people can start doing their part in saving the earth
by doing simple acts
like recycling or bringing our own water bottles
for our beverages.
Our family has learned not to use plastic bags, and I just hope others learn how to do that too.
Sana walang bagyo na makakasira
ng mga pinaghirapan
ng aming magulang.
I wish for a greener environment. Less pollution.
I hope governments and people work together so we can fight any virus
or any sickness
that comes our way.
I hope that everybody has an access to medicine and proper nutrition.
Sana may pagkain mga pamilya para wala nang maglimos. All of the kids have to stay healthy. We dream of a future where every child thrives.
Every child lives in a clean environment.
And every child has a fair chance in life.
Now more than ever, we must work together
to make the world a better place,
to ensure healthy lives, improve access to education,
to combat climate crisis.
Aligned with the ATRAM's mission to engage, inspire, and collaborate
to build a financially secure future,
we are committed to building that future where no one is left behind.
We have adopted 3 out of the 17 SDGs,
aiming to make a positive impact,
as well as ingraining more responsible
and sustainable business practices within ATRAM.
At ATRAM, we value our children's dreams. Let's make it happen for them. Through the ATRAM Sustainable Development and Growth Fund, we'll invest in companies that embrace sustainability and believe that this is key to a better Philippines and a better future for us and our children.
If we be nice to our planet Earth will be nice to us.
Invest to thrive. Invest together.
Hello and good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to another exclusive ATRAM interview series where we feature the top business minds in the country. I'm Santi Elizalde, Business Development Officer. We're very pleased and honored to welcome COL's founder and chairman, Mr. Edward Lee, together with ATRAM's Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Phillip Hagedorn, as they discuss the Philippine stock market and the rise of retail investors. Stay tuned, as they're also going to consider investment strategies and personal portfolio construction. If you have any questions, you may send them as soon as you like by clicking on the Q&A button below your screen. Before anything else, I'd like to let you know that this session will be recorded and that copies will be disseminated on all our social media platforms. Also, please don't forget to visit our website, www.atram.com.ph, for even more information about all the funds that we offer. If you have any friends who you think would like this webinar but are not able to attend, feel free to share the YouTube replay of this session, which can be found on our YouTube channel, ATRAM Studios. We'd also like to invite you to join ATRAM's new official Viber community, #ATRAMPH community, to stay updated on the latest announcements, advisories, and reminders. Scan the QR code or visit the link on your screen and get a chance to win ATRAM merchandise. We would like this webinar to be as interactive as possible, so please don't hesitate to send your questions in via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screens all throughout the webinar, as we have a special surprise for each of you. Each question you send is a raffle entry for a chance to win ATRAM merchandise. Winners will be announced at the end of the webinar, so make sure you stay until the end. We'll also be sending a quick survey after the webinar, so we do hope you can share your thoughts about our session today and how we can improve our webinar series. With that, let us move on to what we all have been waiting for. Today's moderator is ATRAM Group's Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Phillip Hagedorn. Hi, Phil. Happy to have you back. Morning, Phil.
How are you guys doing? Thank you for having me today.
Always. Take it away.
Well, thanks, Santi, and really looking forward to this this morning's webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very, very special day. It's a very special webcast where we feature not just a veteran, but a game changer in the stock market industry. A visionary with a strong advocacy to provide free education to the Filipino people. Our guest has traveled to all corners of this country to preach about investments, how to look after your future and prepare yourself for a richer life. He is a founder and chairman of not just the first online stock brokerage firm in the country, this was their original title, but today also the #1 stock brokerage house in the country, COL Financial. Our special guest and I share the same passion for the stock market. We also share a unique affinity for the old Manila Stock Exchange. Some quick history for those of you too young to remember. Before the unification of the exchanges in December of 1992 and the establishment of the Philippine Stock Exchange, there were 2 stock exchanges in the country. The Manila Stock Exchange, which was established in 1927, and the Makati Stock Exchange, which was established in 1963. In the mid-50s, my grandfather bought a seat in the Manila Stock Exchange. My father joined the family business soon after and built one of the most respected brokerages of that era. In the 1990s, Phillip Hagedorn Securities was the #1 stock brokerage in the Philippines. So what does it mean to be #1? Volume or value of the transactions, of all of your transactions. It's pure and simple. At the end of the year, the brokerage house with the largest volume is deemed the largest broker in town. And this is a very coveted position as local brokerage houses are competing with the likes of financial giants like UBS and CLSA and Credit Suisse. So attaining this achievement is really a fantastic and amazing event. I was leading the family dealing desk at the time in the firm in the 90s, and I can tell you the reason we were the #1 brokerage at the time was because of institutional clients. Retail investors were a non-factor. Our clients were local corporations, foreign investors, government institutions like GSIS and SSS, but the retail market made up less than 10% of our total volume. And our firm had been existing for over 40 years at that time. The retail market is the core of stock markets around the world. All markets that have developed into robust, large, liquid, and open markets are generally dominated by retail customers, either via their direct ownership in stocks or via the mutual funds they own. In January of this year, local investors dominated turnover, contributing 76% of total volume versus just 24% for foreign investors. Our guest has shared with me that in January as well, his firm opened almost as many accounts as he would have normally opened in a whole year. Last year, COL Financial led total volume and value traded in the Philippine Stock Exchange with an astounding 294 billion pesos in turnover. That's more than ₱1 billion a day. Is this the tipping point? Why is it important? These are the questions that we're asking today. 2020 is the first year that I can remember that a local brokerage house whose primary client base are retail investors garnered the distinguished honor of being recognized as a #1 brokerage house in the Philippines. COL Financial, or more popularly known as COL today, grew from the ashes of the Aquino administration or Aquino assassination to the People Power Revolution to become the leader of the pack. And what a long, strange trip it's been. Last year, their number of clients grew from over 300,000 to almost 450,000 today. And the PSC says there are only 1.2 million accounts in the Philippines. So you can imagine how much COL has of that market today. It's amazing growth of 50% in just 1 year. In my view, this is just the beginning. A small percentage of Filipinos have brokerage accounts. My guess is that COL Financial will have over 1 million customers next year. People Power ushered in Cory Aquino at about the same time our guest took the helm and control of what we know today as COL Financial. Is it his time for People Power? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and privileged to introduce to you a founder, a visionary, my hero actually, and a good friend, Chairman of COL Financial, Mr. Edward Ko Lee. Good morning, Edward, and welcome to this bull session.
Good morning, Philip. Thank you for your kind words.
Oh, it's so proud and happy to have you with us today. And very
Good to be
excited
here.
To learn from you. You're one of the gurus.
No.
One of the guys that's been around through. I was thinking about it this morning. At least when I started working in the late '80s, we went through some things. But you had the privilege of starting 20 years, or no, not even 20 years, but maybe close to 15 years before me, and seeing a lot more. So I really. Want to maybe get into that a little bit, Edward. How did you get into the stock market? I mean, what was the beginning? What was the spark?
Well, like I was sharing with you the other day, what really happened was that I don't enjoy school, so I spent most of my time looking for extracurricular activities. There's an organization that I bumped into. It's called at that time it's called Junior Achievement of the Philippines. Its basically role is to help young kids to become entrepreneurs. And fortunately, we have a lot of mentors who basically are helping us. PLDT is one. And one of the companies that was there, I think you should know him very well, Leo Alejandrino of Jardine. He just came from London School of Economics, and he basically was one of our mentors, helping us. So then he invited us to go to his office. And he was with Jardine. He was a CFO at the time, one of the youngest CFO during his time. I think in 1972 or 73. And what happened was that when I went to his office, I saw all these beautiful, what he calls charts of mining companies. All the mining companies at that time,
They look like paintings to you, art.
That's right. It was really paintings to me. And I asked them, what's that? And then he explained to me that these are charts of companies that are listed in at that time, Manila Stock Exchange. And I was so amazed with it. So I started, and then he shared with me, why don't you read this book? It's called Technical Analysis of Stock Trends by Edwards and McGee. This is basically the Bible of the classic charting of human behavior, understanding the human behavior. And since I was young, so I started, I opened a small account with my sister, who is also, I'm sure, loved the market very well. And we started, and two of my friends, we started investing in the market. We call
Do you
it
remember the
investing.
first stock you ever bought? Do you remember the first stock you ever bought?
Of course, it's always Felix Mining, right? I mean, that's the darling of all these things. Eh? So it's all mining issues, all mining issues. So we basically we call it investing, but for the young people, investing is very slow. So we do the same thing as what a lot of our young youth today is doing. Is we started speculating in the market. What really happened? So I was spending most of my time. I don't know if you know that in Philippine there's a Cabarrus Lim. Eddie Lim was at that time. So instead of going to LaSalle, I went to LaSalle, and then I was spending most of my time in the Film Center. At that time, I was looking at all these hotshot Marinduque mining. They were pure speculating. All these mining companies goes up and down.
Was there like a bit of a retail boom at that time? Because I recall my father's brokerage house had a trading floor for individuals, and there were lines of people sometimes outside looking at the blackboards, and
yes, I'm one of them. I mean, it's in a gallery, right? But you don't really have access. You have to go to the trading floor, to their offices, and there's a mini trading floor. And then people on the board, they'll write down the bid and ask what's happening. And you have to give them the orders. So this was basically dominated by just the high network people, the ones that are connected with some institutions. No, so the retail basically is out. It's just that Eddie. I know my uncle knows Eddie Lim very well, so I was able to open an account, and I started trading with them. So the beautiful thing about stock market is that it can excite you when there's a bull market. So 1970 was a huge bull market. So as market goes to the moon, you put in more money, right? I mean, that's normal. No? So you want to participate as much as you can. And then what happened is that when 1974 came, it wiped out everybody. So it's the same thing as what happened in the last few months. People speculated on all these penny stocks, and automatically once this comes down, 60%, we're out of the market. And because of that, I have to find another source of income, which I don't have.
Were you one of those then? And the first time you were one of those that rode the up and felt the pain all the way down?
Yes, of course. But since we have limited funds, we have to cut our losses, right? So it's the nice thing about when you're young, when you speculate, the amount of money is really small. But for us, it's like big already, right? But those are the things that are all young people of today, those who are speculating, has to understand. You need to have that experience. You have to have experience. And then the nice thing about is that I basically have to look for a job. So I started working for a company called Equitable Computer Services, which basically the computer unit of Equitable Bank. So I started with them. I worked them for 4 years in charge of operations. So that was where my background is. Wherein I have at that time, I think the broker who we are processing on the back office is RCD Securities. You know RCD Securities by the Ramon de Alpha. Yes. So I started with them. We did the computerization for the back office. So by 1986, when I became a member of the Philippine Manila Stock Exchange, there was because of the volume that after the revolution, there was just the volume was big. But then the Manila Stock Exchange, we have to close one day on a Wednesday. On a Wednesday, we have to close it to catch up with all this volume and transaction. So my office was just across the Manila Stock Exchange. I was in the Manila Stock Exchange building. I was at a small office there. And I went to the computer center and I said, do you guys need help, right? Because I have this Equitable, at that time, Equicom has a team of software engineers we can probably help you. And so that's what I did. And so we started computerizing it. So we were able to solve the issue. And that's how it's all started.
Were you thinking of, I mean, that was about the same time, I think, that Charles Schwab started to grow
No,
very strongly in the early mid-80s, diba?
No. Charles, yes, well, similar, but Charles Schwab was still using a phone system. It was the price report. It's called price reporting system.
But did you already see the vision? Did you see the vision already at that time? Now we're going to be throwing away the chalk soon, and we're going into this computer world.
Yes. Because my background is I was exposed to the computerization. No? So you need to use it to increase the volume, diba? So that's what I did. So the first project was fixing the back office. The second was we hired a few people that use binoculars in the gallery, and then entering and a key puncher to enter all the transactions of the business so that the back office can basically have access to information. It's called the price reporting system. That's what the first thing that I did for Manila Stock Exchange. And then the next project was also with the Equicom, with the Intelligent Way people. We created what we called a matching system. So the Manila Stock Exchange, we started this what we call a matching system. That was in 1992, I think. We started this matching system. So the Makati, 1 year later, bought it from Chicago Board, the matching system. So by 1993, when the Philippine Stock Exchange merged, when I became the chairman in 1994, what I did was I just threw away what we did and just migrated to the Makati Stock Exchange system. That's why it became one exchange, one system already. So for those who don't know, that I became also the chairman of the Philippine Stock Exchange. No, so I was always involved in helping the exchange computerize, to put it at once. So first I was the chairman.
Was that a clear? I mean, I remember the chalk days, and I don't think there would have been any way that a retail market could have grown in that system. I mean, obviously, that system was, I think, from 1927 when we started. And so that transformation led you to visionize and believe in the next step. Is that where COL Financial, the vision of COL Financial, came from?
What happened is that in 1998, because we are always market timers, right? So the Charles Schwab was born, E-Trade was born. So we started sending a team of our traders to now have access to to Charles Schwab. No? So at that time, I think we were still paying, I think, $10 to $20 per transaction. So when we were doing that, when we were going to the US, we started 1998. We started investing in the US market, or trading the US market. Then I said, I have this team of IT people that retired from the Philippine Stock Exchange. So I just asked them. I said, guys, can you do something like a Charles Schwab, right? So that we can have now a platform that we can send information. And so this 1998, we created. At that time, we call it, because my company was City Security, so I call it CitySec Online. In 1999, I was able to get a license to do this for a separate company for CitySec Online, which is now COL Financial. And we started that. But we started in 1999. But it took us 3 to 4 years before we have this first platform that can be matched, can be traded. No? So from 1990 to 2005 was always the challenge about the Philippine market. And then, of course, the retail market was not really ready. And we had to use our subsidiary, Hong Kong's COL Hong Kong, to basically create the volume. So for 10 years, COL Philippines was being subsidized by 85% of the revenues comes from our COL Hong Kong trading revenues. So it took us a long time really to build.
How do you stomach that, Edward? I mean, these are, a lot of people think you have a great idea. It seems to be perfect, but it takes 20 years to tip, to finally see that this is like proof, right? How do you keep on fighting? I mean, your background is you have a mother that was a teacher, if I'm not mistaken, and a father that was a salesman. So it's almost like a perfect combination for you, right? A teacher and a salesman. It's perfect. But how do you fight every day to show that this thing will finally work?
So from my humble beginning, I was really very fortunate. And I shared this in all most of my talks that it's God's grace or blessing that I got great parents who really love me unconditionally. That is, I've always shared that. And because of that, because I'm very weak in my academics, and after going to all this speculation, working for Equitable, 8 pesos a day. I started as a key puncher, verifier, batcher. And by the time that I set up my own business in 1978, I had very good partners who are with me from JA, who are my classmates since high school and college. They are still both are my major partners today, after all the businesses I've done. I was really just fortunate that I've done very well, right? Both in being an entrepreneur and also both in we call the world of speculation. No? It's a world of speculation. So I've done very well because of that. Because of course, Philip, you and I are the same, right? We look for values. So whenever the Philippines was always for the last, let's say, 1986 to 1989, there were 6 coup d'etat, right? Can you imagine? We keep on. I remember Iggy Calaco told me, sabi na, Edward, you keep on scouting us. When the market's expensive, when the foreigner comes in, because we sell it to them. Then when they panic because there's a coup d'etat, we buy it back from them. So it was always a cycle that we took advantage of. So, but I don't think I should say that word. But we basically did very well, always during crisis.
That's during what we call opportunistic, right? Like you said.
Yes. So you always have to believe that, you cannot be too negative. We always have to have that positive mindset that crisis create a lot of opportunities. And so I was very fortunate that I understand markets. I mean, I also, so we started doing these global markets also, and we started doing very well. So we really believe, at least.
How do you manage that, right, Edward? You have to take advantage of an opportunity in crisis. You have to have the bullets, right? You have to make sure that you didn't lose all your bullets during the crisis.
Yes,
so how do you? What do you think about that?
Well, it's really because the businesses that I built from 1978 gave me a lot of cash flow. So that cash flow alone, basically, so I was there in 1987. The savings and loan crash, 1989 Tiananmen Square, and I'm always with another chairman, Mr. Yap, and I'm always with him. Whenever there's a crisis, we're always there looking for opportunities. No? I remember 1987, that 25% drop. Nandun din kami. No? We were there. 1989, Tiananmen Square. I remember I was calling my broker in Hong Kong. He said, Mr. Lee, what are you doing? Everybody's getting out. I said, there is blood in the street. I remember buying Choi Kongs, at $5-6 Hong Kong dollars. I mean, those are what we call opportunity of a lifetime. So always you have to have that positive mindset. No? So and because of that, because of what happened to me, I started from my humble beginning. I really believe that this understanding of markets can be taught. Right? It's a science. It's not anymore what we call gut feel or anything, right? So with enough rules, that's why we created a school. It's Caleb Trading Institute to teach people how to do global trading. And when we were doing COL, we came up with that we really wanted to educate the masses. That was always the role. And I remember I said that I'm not going to wait for all my regulators to start doing this, because I've done very well on our personal capacity. We've done very well because of understanding how market is being done. And at that time, of course, because we love to teach. So, right, I mean, we love to teach. We love the market. That's like you and I. We really love the market, right? And because of that, we believe that we believe that all Filipinos, with our knowledge, our experience, we can share it with the Filipino people. And that's really how COL was created. That's why you're saying, I've been losing money every year. We're subsidizing for 10 years. But because we understand markets, we make market from somewhere else and then just continue to fund this. But it really took us a long time. It was really patient, educating. But let me share with you what is really most important. We tried to teach market timing in 2005. We started teaching. In 2006, when we listed, in fact, we were very fortunate that that time Francis Lim was able to help me because Citibank sued me. So 1 month before my listing, I was sued by the biggest bank in the world, and it's because I'm the CitiSec Online. So we basically was so Francis helped me by saying that we are not connected with the Citibank. So got it listed. And I really believe at that time we had 272 customers. It's like a startup. It's just a startup with an idea. When we were raising, I think we only raised 160 million. No, and I remember they asked me. I said, why are you listing? You don't have a track record, nothing. Because I really believe that listing is very important. That's why I really wanted it to be listed, because only when you get listed, then you need to structure, you have to systemize, because you want your client to do well, right? And we started teaching market timing because that's who we are. We understand markets. But you know what? By 2007 and 8, when the market was collapsing, we were warning people to get out. Nobody was listening because they were making money at 2005, 2006, 2007. By 2008, when it came down, we changed the business model. We don't teach market timing anymore. Why? Very simple. Because it's too, whenever I talk to 100 people, only less than 2%, 5%, do I need to learn all these things before I start investing in the stock market? That's why we change it to an easy investment program. It's purely just pick the top issues, 5 issues, and basically just do a cost averaging. That's why the easy investment program was born during the 2008 financial crisis. And the rest was history. Because now, if I talk to 1,000 people, 50 to 60% will open an account. Kasi it's only what? The minimum was 5,000 before, and then you guys came along, it became 1,000. I mean, it's really democratized, really for the masses talaga. It's really designed for the masses. But what keeps me going on is really because I'm fortunate. We were just fortunate that we understand markets, and we wanted to help the Filipino people also to that. You have to let money works for you. They are now investing at a small amount of money, 200 to 300 pesos a day. You can be a millionaire in 10 years just by cost averaging, buying your index, diba? And believing in the Philippine growth story. That's what I really believe. And the rest was history.
I'm just curious now, because I think your education part, which is really what you've spent a lot of time doing in the last 10 years. I'm curious. Us stock nerds, right? We're kind of, are you fundamental, are you technical? When you talk to some people, you try to ask them what's their bias, right? How would you react to that?
Okay, if you are starting, so it's what we call the investor's journey. So the investor's journey is one. The first one is passive investing. The second one is what you guys do, active investing. The third one is active trading, right? Okay, so we classify it already. If you are starting, you need to focus on your work and your businesses. And just set aside a small amount of money and just buy an index fund. Pure passive investing. You don't have to think. Just cost averaging. That's the easiest way. So what people don't know is that it's the easiest. The problem is after 10 years, now you have a problem. After 10 years, now because you were able to save and invest and reinvest it, now you have a problem. After 10 years or 15 years of continuous investing, then you have to understand a little bit about risk on, risk off. Because if you don't understand it, then market volatility, like for example, the pandemic, market can go down 10, 20, 30, 50%. And if you don't understand, at least understand what is risk on, risk off, or asset allocation, like what you guys do, then you might sell at the bottom because the scariest is at the bottom. Diba? That's where people capitulate, diba? But they don't know during the capitulation, we're the one that looks at the market very, very well.
But remember,
right?
Edward, for somebody to sell, somebody has to be buying that. Diba?
That's right. So these are things which are available in all our channel. It's for free. We teach that, right? The problem is, like you and I know, it's always a challenge. Diba? People just like to be told what to buy and what to sell. They don't understand that the concept of it, that you need to be aware of, because it involves life's savings, a lifetime retirement that can basically just disappear in just a few weeks or a few days, right? So these are things which is available already. We teach that. I've been teaching that for so many years already, right? So you need to understand.
Well, even if you've taught it, Edward, sometimes you've had to turn the switch off yourself, right?
At the bottom of the market, I have to switch. If let's say I'm all in already during those capitulation, I have to close the computer already. I don't want to look at it anymore. I mean, there's no denial. Huh? I remember in 1998 when I was buying this stock, right? I told the broker, I said, finish the order halfway. He said, Mr. D, you bought almost 150 million shares already. I said, let it finish my money. And of course, the next day, wala na akong pera, diba? Then I have to close. I have to close my computer. I don't want to look at my portfolio and just pray, right? I mean, but these are during those times. But after the capitulation, I think that was during the attack of Soros. I remember that. 1998, when the crisis came, they were shorting the emerging markets. I remember that. 1 month later, double your money. So these are things that are very important. I mean, we don't teach this anymore, and I'm not that young anymore. I'm old already, so I don't do these things anymore. Right? But during my earlier years, during huge capitulation, the best is if it's global. It's a global crisis, not the Philippine crisis. I mean, we have to basically
qualify. What's your thinking then of how the retail, since you guys really have the lion's share of the retail market today, the way they reacted to last year's crisis? Do you think there's a little bit of learning? Because the previous crisis was really only 10 years. It seems like yesterday, 2010, right? 9, 10, and all of that. And I'm curious how, I got a feeling that last year was different. Something was different about the market last year.
Yes. Let me, I think I shared that with you the other day when we were discussing it. When the pandemic hit last March, Philip, we were opening 2,000-3,000 accounts a month. For the last 10 years, from 2011 and 12, 2,000, 3,000 a month. And those who are actively open account, but not a lot of dormant. A lot of people are not really, I mean, they open account because they hear us giving a talk. Like you said, I'm an evangelist, so I talk about, doing all these things. But no, most people don't really participate. I mean, they'll open an account, but then they don't put money. Or they'll open an account, they put 10,000 pesos, thinking that you put 10,000 pesos, it will now buy stock by itself. I'm telling you, it's really a very difficult market for the mass retail. What happened was when the pandemic hit, the first 6 months, so March, so April, May, June, July, August, September, that 6 months, we opened so many accounts. But most of these accounts are the high net worth accounts. These are investors that understand that crisis is an opportunity. And that's where they made all the money.
And they knew that they could open an account quickly with you and get things going right away.
Yes. So we had huge. I think I shared with you. We had 20 billion in new money that came in last year. During that period, people. These are the entrepreneurs who have never invested in the stock market. I have so many calls from all these entrepreneurs, very successful business. Edward, anong pwedeng bilhin dyan? Sabi ko, huwag ka na mag-isip, ito na yan. Diba? And those people, and in fact, we were locked down. We cannot open account. We have to call everybody, and then help them. A lot of these are high net worth people, and that alone, that first 6 months after the pandemic was the most important period, right, for these entrepreneurs who have never dabbled into stock market came in. And they know, because they're entrepreneurs, they're businessmen, they understand that during this crisis is the only time when there's a crisis, there's the only time that they can buy all this blue chip at a huge discount. And that's the kind of customers which will last the business itself. The problem is, as market goes up, then you attract another kind of investors or speculators, no? And the last 3 months, the last 3-4 months, so after I think October, November, December, January, before we closed the opening of account, we saw all these speculative issues being promoted. And because of that, the bulk of our account opening became the youth from 18 years old, because of the pandemic, from 18 to 29 years old, right? And those accounts, definitely when they open, they want excitement. So everybody basically just buy and sell. That's why last year the last 3 months of 2020, that's where we accelerated. That's where we accelerated in terms of daily volume. We were hitting 2-3 billion a day during those periods, right? So now, what has happened to this mass market? It basically there are two kinds. One is the active investors. Those are people who understand that investing for the long term, but they know that during capitulation, they're there, right? And then when market goes up, they're being lightening up. So active investing indirectly. And there's now a new set of new investors, or what we call active trading participants, no? That have also opened a lot of accounts the last 3 months, which basically we have to close it because they were just gambling, right? I mean, that was I was sharing with you. January, the first 20 days, we opened 14,000 or 15,000 accounts. And we have to say, tama na muna ito. Kasi it's basically, you remember, the saying was BWR, we talked about it, right? During those periods of speculation, wala na. In fact, I had to call up the Philippine Stock Exchange and ask permission, telling them, it's tama na, sobra. People are just opening accounts just to speculate.
I mean, I don't think many people know, and on this call, that Edward actually had to stop opening. I mean, that's something that a business, normally you don't do that, right? You don't stop opening new accounts. But when you know that, I think Edward, that moral side takes over, and the duty takes over, and had to shut it down for the meantime.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But one is, of course, we have to catch up also from our, because you have accelerated 3 times more volume, right? In terms of 3 times more accounts. So we have to also make sure that our existing customer will have a much better infrastructure that they can, platform that they can be able to use. That's one also. And then our people were working until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, right? It doesn't make sense anymore, right?
Edward, I wanna, you know me, I'm Mr. Optimist, diba? You'll never hear a negative from me, no?
Yes.
But we were talking about the U.S. and how the Philippines, I think Philippines and America, we kind of wrote the same laws, we run the same sort of government, democratic, our markets are open, very small, obviously, in the Philippines. But the big growth spurt, the U.S. has been on a 30-year bull market, right? That started in 1980. And from a demographic standpoint, when you look at the demographics at that time in the US, the big part of the population that were starting to invest were between 20 and 30 years old. These were baby boomers that have been working already, maybe already higher level job, but they started to get into the market in a big way. And that was the beginning of the Charles Schwab's, the Magellan Fund and Fidelity, which eventually led to ETF investments and indexing and this whole phase of things that grew. When you look at the Philippines today, our demographics are exactly the same as where the US was in 1980, where 20% of our population today is between the age 20 and 30 years old. guys like me that are, I mean, I'll never retire from this business, but retirement age being 60, there's only about 3% of the population that will retire in about 5 years. But there's 10% of the population between the ages of 15 and 20 years old that's going to come into the workforce in the next 5 years. So is this the tidal wave? Is this it, pansit, as they say? I mean, what you've been waiting for the last 20 years. Is there any way this can be derailed? And what can we do to help it move forward?
Okay. It's called the S curve. My son was teaching me our business model. It's called the S curve. It's called the explosive growth. No? Because of this pandemic, all these kids basically are staying home, right? And now they have time to look for other opportunities. So what has happened? What has happened for the last 10 years? That we were opening 2,000 to 3,000 accounts, it became now 6,000 to 8,000 a month, right? So it's called what we call, from a commercial viable business for the last 10 years, it became an explosive growth. So it became what we call the mainstream adoption. People now are adopting. Investing in the market is now an in thing. It's like, you have to know, you have to understand it, right? So it's like, maybe it's like a side hustle for today. But I really believe, we really believe, that this is the tipping point that we have been waiting for 20 plus years, wherein now the young population now can learn this skill of investing or trading, whatever they want, no? And it will be a mainstream adoption already by the...
But maybe, Edward, most important is these young guys, 10 years ago, were a cost to all of us, di ba? Nasa school pa yan. Today they're making money. They're making money, and that's the difference. That's the difference.
So it's called mainstream adoption. It's now being adopted. Everybody. In fact, we're going to do a nationwide internship program to teach the juniors and seniors how to look at it from a global perspective, right? And I hope that our regulators now, the Philippine Stock Exchange now, have come up with a new rule that will now have new products, new companies getting listed. No? There'll be more lax. In fact, I was sharing with them, there is no COL if we were not allowed.
That's the dream, Edward. We want more companies. We want to invest in more companies. We want people to come forward and go public. And I think that's what's really been, we've been around since 1927, and that's where we're lagging. So I hope that's addressed.
Philip, let me share with you a very important why we should really allow a lot of startups, young growth, high growth companies to get listed. Because if you get these young people as an entrepreneur to start now creating things, right? Because of the chance to be able to raise capital and build their business, what will happen is that their employees, their workers, everybody now will be involved. As more companies get listed, the capital market automatically will grow exponentially. That's what people don't understand. If we are only just looking for protection, my God, don't do anything anymore. It's education. It's really education. So for those speculators,
I'm sure you know that if you're looking for protection, there's many issues that we could have been protected from in the past. That you can't control all of that. Right? I mean,
yes. So it is very important that the participants, whether they're a long-term investor, short-term investor, or speculators, they will learn how to do this properly. Once they learn, automatically, and a lot of companies gets listed, the capital market will automatically grow. Automatic yan. For example, I'm listing this company. Oh, the clerk, the messenger, the workers will participate also. And then
it's like when Petron listed, a lot of people participated.
Oh, diba? So I really believe that our regulators, whether it's PSE or the SEC or the BSP, has to understand we need to encourage more listing, whether it's a good company, bad company, walang problema yan. Because we are here to educate them. You have to know
Trust us naman, no? Trust us, I guess. Give the brokers some...
Diba? That's exactly what it is. Because if you're, our biggest challenge today, let me share with you our biggest challenge. We have, let's say, for example, if our system lags, we will have 1,000 complaints to the SEC, to the CMIC. We always, our back office legal has to be defending any. In fact, I was talking to the CMIC. He said, we can do anything. Whenever somebody complains, we have to ask you guys to explain. And we have to put all the detailed information kung ano nangyari sa kanila. I'm telling you.
Edward, we have so many questions here and not so much time. So I think we need to... Okay, before we get to the questions of our guests, I want to ask one question to start. Is there any stock that you've ever fallen in love with? They say don't fall in love with stocks.
We are big. Well, of course, the stock that we're falling in love with, we have our own issues, right? So I have to love COL Financial, whatever it is. COL Financial. But let me share with you. There are times, and you know that personally. I mean, you know that you're firsthand. The company that I fell in love with was a company called A. Soriano and Score. What happened was that because at that time it was discounted 60-70% to net asset value, right? Yep. And at that time we did very well during the bull markets, and we started looking for values, right? And that time it was a huge discount. A lot of the subsidiaries inside that holding company is not even listed, so we started accumulating one board seat, then naging 2 board seat, then patay. So there are things that are, but eventually, of course, it went up tripled because they started unwinding the values. They started divesting some of the jewels inside, and basically, so I think what people don't understand is that you need to be, if you don't have time, you need to be just in your funds, in the index funds. Either it's an index fund or whatever kind of funds that it has to be that way. Because like us, when we were younger, we can go all in on a listed company, not knowing that it can stay cheap for a long time, right? So
cheap for a reason, as they say sometimes.
That's right. Until the owners or the principals decide to realize the values.
I have some questions here now. So, and maybe Santi can later on say who's asked them. I guess we're going to be giving some merch. What do you think should be the ideal number of retail investors? That as far as the population, the target that we should have in the short term.
Personally, we're just starting the highway. We're just starting, right? You have to remember, less than 2% is invested. So in a country like ours, I think from 12 to 15% should be the objective. Because you have to remember, you have to remember, this is what we call it's called power of compounding, also miracle of compounding, right? As people trust what they're doing, right, they will tell it to their friends, relatives. So it's what we call the miracle of compounding. So as it becomes 1 million, it will become 1.1, 1.2. Over time, it's going to be, that's why it's called mainstream adoption. No? So what is that number? I don't know. Of course, ours was 1 million. But of course, after waiting for 20 years, now we're saying maybe it should be 3-5 million, right?
Right.
That's how we look at it. Kasi as more companies get listed, the market will continue to grow. That's why we have to start building a new architecture, new infrastructure, just to be able to accommodate eventually the next 20 years all this volume that we're expecting.
Well, I mean, the way it is right now, for every 1% addition, that's almost 1 million new customers, right? So there's a lot of growth potentially that is going to come, I think. I guess in line with this, automation is another question from our guest. Automation speeds the flow of information, which The caveat being that it also speeds the flow of fake news, stocks being hyped, etc.
Yes.
What are the safeguards that retail investors should be looking for this? I mean, following different blogs and things, what should you do and think about as a retail investor?
I think what people don't understand. Yes, there's like we have our own channel in our social channel. No? In fact, first time I created a Facebook on my own just to be able to put all this. It's not for me to show anything. It's just really for education. No? So I compiled everything. But let me share with you the power of the social media. There's a NYU professor. His name is Aswat Damodaran. He gives also free information. All his work is uploaded into YouTube, right? So he has this what we call the corporate cycles. Understand what we call the corporate cycles. And it was very simple. It's called about understanding whether this company is a startup, a young growth, high growth, mature, declining. So in other words, nowadays, people can learn how to be able to dissect and look at companies in a compartmentalized way. Diba? Naka-structure na yan eh. Diba? So these are things that are very critical. This is really just people having access and trying to believe that what he's teaching is a very famous NYU professor out of New York. Diba? And these are things that are very powerful. The problem is, as always, people are not ready to receive it. People will be now more excited about, tell me what to buy, and can I make 10, 20, 30% in just a few days? That's the problem. But, it will take time. These will take time. It will take a while for people to understand that they need to be educated. They need to understand what they're doing. Because, like I said, give them fish, they eat for a day. Teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. It becomes a skill, it becomes a craft. And like I always share this with the youth today, once you understand how to do this the right way, do it the right way, the world is in your fingertip. You have access now to information, you have access now to platforms that are zero commission. My God, Philip, this is the best time for people to learn all these things. It's available in social media. It's available everywhere. Now, if they don't have time, like I said, focus on your work, focus on your business, just allocate 10, 20% of whatever you make and start investing in all these funds and let them work for you. Meaning,
Edward, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, I think, first of all, as you said earlier, I have the stock market in my blood, and I believe everybody should be investing.
Yes.
There are very good companies out there that, if you don't know what to buy, sometimes I just say, look inside your refrigerator. Whatever companies that you are supporting. I used to say before when I was in the brokerage industry, just think of the PBA. If you want to fill gas in your car, you buy Petron. If you want to drink beer, San Miguel. Drink milk, Alaska. And so, so on and so forth. There's so many ways to think about good companies to invest in. And, thanks to your platform, a lot of people now can do it quickly, can do it with education. I think that's super important part of the whole formula.
Yes.
I think how you ended it, we're saying, if you teach somebody to fish, then they'll do it forever. And I'm looking forward to this generation of Filipinos who are going to carry the country. This is 30% of people are between the ages of 15 and 30 today. This is the future of the country. Are going to become investors at the time when we have this pandemic that just hit and have given you value. I'm sure you and I would never have thought to see the index at 6,500 again in 2021. That was the last thing after struggling for 5 years between 7,000 and 9,000. That opportunity is there. And I think our friend Wilson C. called it an opportunity of a lifetime back in 2010. Pero like I like to say, there's always the second bite of the cherry. And I think this is the second bite of the cherry coming. And, you know, with stocks available at call and now our funds available at call as well, you have these choices to ride on a bus or drive the bus yourself or do both. I think
they understand.
Yeah. I'll give you the last words, Edward. I want to try and stick to our 1 hour, so we leave time for maybe the next talk because there's still a lot of questions in my mind I want to ask you.
I think the most important for the audience, now for the participants here today, is that they have to have that open-mindedness. They have to also believe in what you were saying a while ago, is that they have to believe in the Philippine growth story. And once you do that, then all this pandemic that's happening, it's not only just now. It has been happening all over the world for the last, I've been in the market since more than 40 plus years. And from time to time, we will be able to see opportunities of a lifetime, like what Wilson has been saying. And you need to understand, it's always darkest before dawn. Right? So you have to understand it, because if you don't understand it, you might be selling at the bottom, right? And the most important also is that you always have to focus on what you're doing, meaning you have to focus on, you need a cash flow. You really need to generate a cash flow, whether from your work, be the best in your work. As a businessman, you have to provide the best service, best product. And over time, you will now, the same thing as what I always teach us to the young high school kids that I spend time every year, except last year I wasn't able to go. I spent time really to go to my alma mater and teach all these kids what we call very simple rules of how to become a successful entrepreneur. It's all about building relationship, understand giving the best product, the best service. And if you continue to serve your client, your audience, your customers, like what you guys are doing, you have to provide the best quality product that you're putting in your feeder funds, whatever. Once you continue to do that, you will build a reputation. Once you build a reputation, the rest is history. Your business will continue to grow.
What do you want your legacy to be, Edward?
That was asked to me I gave a talk last year, and they asked me about legacy. I said I was really blessed that I have, my legacy is my family. I was really blessed that I have kids basically who are helping now in the business. And they, after 20, 30 years of me sharing about all these things that we're doing, they're now involved in the business. So my eldest is in charge of the global markets. We have City Securities, now CTS Global Equity Group. It's a global prop trading company. He's now in charge of that. He's the president and CEO. My daughter, basically, and Edmund, my youngest, is the one in charge of the school, Calum Trading Institute. This is really to educate for global markets also, because that's part of the. It's like you have to build your army to be able to hire for the prop traders. So it takes a lot of effort. So my legacy is really my family. I've said that so many times. And of course, the one that is most important is that I think the impact that you were able to share with people who have benefited from what we're doing. No? I think that's the most important legacy. I think that's more important.
I think in a few years, millions of Filipinos, I think, will be thankful to you and your group for the education, the access, and hopefully we can, go on that ride together. I mean,
yes, of course.
This is the dream. This is the retail market becoming an important part of the investor community. Is signs that the Philippines is really headed in the right direction. So thank you, Edward. Thank you for all your support, all your hard work, all your pastoring. Pastoring, really, I think is the right word. And thank you for joining us today. It's really a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, Santi. I'll pass it back to you at this point.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Just once again, thank you again, Phil, Mr. Edward Lee, for that very insightful conversation. And of course, thank you to our audience. We appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning, I guess afternoon now. But please stay tuned to find out if you're a winner in today's raffle. At this point, I'm sure you guys are interested in learning about how to invest in ATRAM funds. Please tune in to know a little bit more.
Hello. To open an account with ATRAM, just visit our website at www.atram.com.ph. Here, you can learn more about all the funds and services that we offer. Our site will then guide you to our online investment platform, Seedbox, where you can start investing for just 1,000 pesos. But if you have more questions, visit the website's Frequently Asked Questions page or ATRAM Academy page. Thank you.
All right, there you go. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more about ATRAM, please visit our website, www.atram.com.ph. In case you have not registered for our next webinar, ATRAM Trust Corporation President, Mr. Dino Basas, is set to discuss what's new in GCash on Thursday, April 8th at 11 a.m. Tune in to this exciting webinar and learn more about why you should invest via GInvest today. You may also do so by scanning the QR code or keying in the link found on your screen. Again, if you have any friends who you think would like this webinar, but were not able to attend this morning, feel free to share the YouTube replay of the session. Visit our YouTube channel, ATRAM Studios. We would also like to invite you to join ATRAM's new official Viber community group, #ATRAMPH Community, to stay updated on the latest announcements, advisories, and reminders. Scan the QR code or visit the link on your screen to get a chance to win ATRAM merchandise. And lastly, please answer the survey at the end of this webinar. We would love to know your thoughts on today's topic. On behalf of everyone at ATRAM, thank you again for your attendance and participation. We wish you and your loved ones continued health and safety. Have a great day.